Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru.
Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So we've gone through now why we should learn Gurmukhi and how does it work, and also we've gone through the we've gone through different types of sounds, which ones are very similar to English sounds, which ones are combination, which ones are a little bit harder we to work with unique ones. What we're going to go through now are 5 special letters which have a separate property as compared to other letters, and this is the 4th column in the 35 akhar, the Gurmukhi alphabet you can see over here. Obviously the first line is not really that, there's nothing hard in there, and the last line is not part, it's the 5 lines in between. These sounds which you can see, the first one is Kagga, then it's Chajja, then it's Tadda, then it's Tadda, and then it's Pabba. As you can see now, when we talked about how these words are pronounced, they're all in the unique sounds. What we said is that these are normally the combination of the first column and the 3rd column. So for example, Kagga sounds a bit like Kakka and Gagga together, you get Kagga. And the same with Chajja, sounds a bit like Chacha and Jajja together, Chajja, right? Now, so that's the first and the 3rd. Now however, these sounds, if we look at them how they're written in Punjabi, so how would you write the letter Kagga? You can see now these 5 separately, you can see that how they're written out is Kagga is written, Kagga itself with a adak. This is we're going to talk about later on, but this basically means emphasis. And then you've got the letter Gagga, which if you look back to the 35 akhar chart is the 3rd column. What you end up writing when you write it in Gurmukhi to explain the sound, you end up writing it as the 4th column with the adak, and then the 3rd column, this is a letter that precedes this letter, you say Kagga, Kagga. Now that G is obviously one of the sounds that makes up that Kagga. So now it might be a bit confusing. Basically, this is how they're written in Punjabi. Kagga is always written as Kagga, Chajja is always written as Chajja, and then Tadda is always written as Tadda, right? And Tadda is written up as Tadda, and Pabba is written up as Pabba. Why have they got different sounds? Yeah, first is separate, second one is a bit different. Because for example, if you've got Kakka, it's just Kakka, always the same letter. Or Dadda is always Dadda. But why now Tadda, or this round, it's got a second sound? Because their sound changes. Initially their sound is that sound, the first one, the 4th column, yeah? So if these letters, if they're at the front of a word, and don't worry if you're not getting it, we're going to go through examples. If they're at the beginning of a letter, then the sound is that letter which is on the left, its own sound, which is like Kagga, Chajja, Tadda, Tadda, Pabba. However, because they've got the second part of their letter is the sound which is a bit different, if they're in the middle of the word or at the end of a word, then you don't pronounce the first sound, you pronounce the second sound. You take the Kagga, which has got an adak, and the Gagga, you then pronounce the Gagga with a adak. You don't pronounce Gagga by itself, it's a little bit more emphasis, the Gagga with the adak. And what you end up getting is, in the middle of the letter, you will then get the sound G, yeah, not G. So the examples, so for Kagga, now let's say you had the word Kar, very common Punjabi word, and also in Gurmukhi is used to sometimes mean the body, which has a soul inside it, Kar. Now if this sound, if this akhar, Kagga, comes in the middle of a word or at the end of a word, it's not pronounced as K, it's pronounced as G. So let's look at a few words. So here's a word that we know, sing. Now when we say word sing, we don't say sing, right? What we say is sing with a adak, Gaga adak. So sing, we pronounce it sing, but we write it as sing, yeah, with the Kagga. We don't pronounce it as Kagga. Also meg, you've seen the word meg, it comes up as rain, but we don't say meg, we say meg, but it's written as Kagga. So just again, one example of that. Let's look at the akhar Chajja. In this akhar, obviously a simple word you might have seen in Punjabi books, they use the word chanda, which means a flag. So Nishan Sahib might be called a flag. Chanda now is pronounced as ch, but let's look at two words where it's not at the beginning, like rag, maj. Yeah, now it's maj, but we're not saying maj, we're saying maj. Yeah, and again it's a j with a adak. Another word with chaja, we say suj, suj, to say to understand something. Yeah, it comes up in Bani a lot. Now again with suj, we're not saying suj, we're saying suj, which has got a bit of an emphasis on the jaja. Okay, now let's look at the akhar tadda. Tadda, now tol, common word, bajit, tol, mardang nagari, from Swaye. Also other words you might have seen, teet, somebody who's a bit stubborn, not really listening to their guru maybe, teet. Now how do we put that, when we put that akhar tadda into a word, you've heard of words like gand. Now the word gand it means a knot, yeah, like tying a knot in something, but here instead of saying ganta, we're saying gand, which is, you can see, is a third column sound, which is a dadda with a bit of another. Another word that comes up quite a lot is guard. Guard means to take something out, like guard leho, take me out of this hell that I'm inside. Then you say, instead of saying guard, you're saying guard with a bit more finesse on dadda. Yeah. So the last two examples, tadda. Now this is an interesting one because it comes up a lot. You know, I used to always ask questions about this one. So you got dharam, yeah, which means righteousness, justice, what we're working towards, or it can also mean religion in different contexts. Yeah. Now, or a duty. So dharam. So I used to always think this. We say sadhu or sad sangat. Now we don't say sat sangat. We don't say satu. We say sad sangat. So it's a dadda with a bit of an emphasis. And the same way we say sadhu or we say bandhan. Yeah, it's a d with this emphasis. Now it's not Hindi. In Hindi you say bandhan, dh. It's not dh, it's d, bandhan, bandhan. Or like band paya mein Satguru pure, or bandhan tod. The people, Guruji breaks our bonds. So the word bandhan is like bonded, but it can mean to do worship as well. Because we're bonded to our Guru, we stick inside their hukam. Then let's look at the last one, which is pabba. Now pabba, pagat, very common word, or pagdi. This is at the beginning of a word. It's pronounced as pa. Now what if it was in the middle or the end? So we know the word kam, krodh, lob, lob, mo, akhars. We're not saying lob pa, we're saying lob with the emphasis on the ba. And also a common word, prabh. Yeah, we say prabh. We don't say prabh, yeah, because it sounds weird, right? Prabh, yeah, it's babba with the other. So now this explains why sometimes these five akhars change their sound, right? The information in this video is from the website gursevak.com. Yeah, very good one to read. I met Baba Jaswant Singh Ji in Canada, and some of these questions that I had about Gurmukhi were answered by them. And also just a little note upon these sounds. Now they're different from the Hindi sounds, right? So because I know I speak Hindi, they are not the same as using the Hindi sound. So just use the Gurmukhi sound. Now just one thing to note: sometimes if you say the word taram, that's tadda. If you say the word taram, you will still say taram, right? Why are you not saying dharam? Because actually you're still using the same word, dharam. Yeah, dharam means the opposite of dharam. Yeah, unrighteousness. But you don't change the sound of the word dharam because it's a word in itself, but it's just got a prefix of so basically, when we use a word which remains the same, but when you put a prefix or a suffix at the end, it doesn't change its pronunciation. It stays the same. All we do is put the prefix at the front, and that helps because because the sound helps you to understand the word, right? So you can't change the sound of the word if it stays the same. So those are the 5 letters of Gurmukhi. There's the reason why they have double pronunciation is because the letter itself is written in that way. It's got a double sound in the letter. As we said, if you look and see now, all those letters have a set 2 sounded, and all you do is at the beginning you say it this way, at the middle and then you say it the other way. So hopefully that will make that bit clear. Again, this is the reason why we need Santhya. We can't just pick up Gurmukhi and start reading it. We need someone to help us understand the words, and they will improve our pronunciation. And we need someone as a teacher, a Santhya teacher, to actually help us to pronounce it. So as you go through Japji Sahib Santhya, which we've got in our channel, is going to come on, then this will help you to understand why some words are pronounced in this way and not the other way. Otherwise it does sound a bit weird to the ear to say words like Satu or Sata Sangat, yeah, because they're not how we normally say them. And the reason is because these letters are special in that way. Okay, apologies for any mistakes that I've made. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.